Dinosaurs have long since been extinct. We already all know the story, you know, giant meteor comes and literally destroys all of them, bro. There were very few of them that survived, but those ones evolved into much more tame and smaller creatures, you know, birds, lizards, stuff like that. However, the topic for today manages to challenge that that's actually what happened, and things play out a little bit differently in this universe. This analog horror series is called Prehistoric Reemergence, and it is terrifying. Now, in the current events of this analog horror, it's actually taking place sometime this year, 2024, like the beginning of fall. Actually, no, not even fall yet. So keep in mind all the events that are taking place would be taking place like right now, if we were in that reality. So we start off with an emergency broadcast, alerting us there's been these gigantic holes just spawning in at the bottom of the ocean. Obviously, that's not a very good thing and something is happening. Well, let's break it down. The thing I believe we fear most about the ocean is the mystery of it all. We've only explored a small percentage of it, and the deeper you get, the more terrifying it seems to get. It gets darker, much more darker. There gets to a point where the pressure is so powerful that like it can destroy things like submarines just with the pressure alone, not to mention the creatures that are down there. Creatures we may not have even discovered yet because we don't have the technology to get that far down without being crushed. Not to mention there's been some pretty recent sightings of massive creatures with giant bites taken out of them and everything.
This is one of the biggest creatures in the ocean. What is taking a bite out of it like that? That is insane to me.
The ocean in general is just not a place to mess with. Even if you are a professional and you have the proper equipment, do not play around in the ocean, bro. It can easily spell your demise. Back to the subject though. These massive holes have begun spawning underwater. No one knows where they came from. No one knows when they came from. But apparently from these massive holes are some creatures that have been emerging from this hole. Now these aren't just regular creatures, okay? These are prehistoric beasts. Literally large enough to bite through a boat in like one bite. Like I'm talking actual behemoths. Most of these things are gigantic. For example, we have creatures like the Mesosaurus, a massive lizard-like creature with razor-sharp teeth that can rip through just about anything and has an appetite for anything that it can stomach. This creature literally grows up to 50 feet in length and can swim around 30 miles per hour. 30 miles per hour, bro. Apparently this universe has already been like rapidly affecting the ecosystem with how much it eats. Yeah, this thing is like it's a threat to everything. We also have the Dunkleosteus. I think that's how you say it. I don't know how to pronounce it, bro. Do I look like a historian? Huh? Do I look like a paleontologist? This is a massive armored fish creature that regular bullets can't even penetrate the shell of. It can grow up to about 13 feet in length and has a bite force of over 6,000 psi. Enough to easily crack you in half like an egg. I mean, it's almost double that of a crocodile. And a crocodile can do that too. Now this thing is fast and it is very hostile towards humans, as you can see here. Basically, you do not want to be around this thing, and if you do see it, you need to avoid it. Now, me personally, though, if I had to get rid of it, I would just stick a grenade in his mouth and let it blow up from the inside out. I'm just saying, it'll probably do the job. And oh boy, we also have the Megalodon. Surely you've heard of that one before. This shark can literally grow over 60 feet. Its teeth are like 7 inches long. And it can literally probably eat your whole family in like one bite. Like this thing isn't no joke. If you ever heard about megalodons, where have you been, bro? These things are just renowned as being one of the most horrifying creatures to ever exist on this planet. On top of that though, in this universe, it's also obviously destroying the ecosystem as well with its appetite and how much it eats. It eats like up to 2,500 pounds a day. This thing's got like a freaking food quota for its meal plan. Yeah, bro, this thing just eats non-stop. Yeah, so here we are. These creatures are roaming the ocean, literally destroying all the ecosystems, eating all the other smaller fish, probably eating each other. But either way, the government's having a hard time keeping this stuff under control. They don't even have the means to take care of this kind of stuff. So honestly, just stay out of the ocean. It's out of your control. Like imagine you're just chilling, minding your own business in your boat. Here comes a megalodon that just eats you and your whole family whole. All because you're small enough to fit in his mouth and it hasn't met his food quota yet for his meal plan. No thank you. I'm staying out of this ocean in this universe, bro. I'm good. Now I know I just said you'd probably be safer just staying out of the ocean in this universe, which is true, but now the land is no safer according to this new tape that just came out.
More prehistoric creatures have been spotted.
Apparently holes on land are now spawning in too. Just as massive, just as creepy.
Refrain from entering these unknown voids. Stay tuned until the end of the broadcast for more updates on these openings.
And apparently now land creatures are kind of emerging from these holes. We're getting more and more of these prehistoric creatures just appearing. Now, not all of them are dangerous. Not all of them are completely dangerous, at least. But we know something nefarious is going on. Because why are they leaving this hole anyways if they were safer down there before? Why are you coming out now? Anyways, now we got to deal with the likes of the Megalania. It's like a massive Komodo dragon kind of lizard. Like, really, it's probably what Komodo dragons turned into, this thing. Except this thing is literally like up to 23 feet long, and it's over 1,000 pounds. What? What the? Yeah, these things like to camouflage themselves, hide in the forest, and they will jump out and sneak attack you, bro. It'll be it. And apparently they're not even restricted to forested regions. If they feel like going to the city, they will. In fact, there have been sightings of them in the city too. They're just kind of doing whatever they want. Now, less aggressive but more interesting entry here. The woolly mammoths have come back too. So obviously they're not like immediately dangerous unless you prove to be a threat to them or you provoke them in any way. But it's more of a concern about their safety as they've returned. People are already poaching them for their tusks. Their tusks are selling for like $10,000 to poachers, I think. Yeah, their existence was probably going to end the same way that it ended last time, with them just straight up going extinct. But I guess they are set to have an exhibit for them at a zoo and zoos in other locations while they are still here, and they're gonna kind of sanction them in the zoos. What's weird is it does say, and this is like super current stuff too, like it says the exhibit will be ready as soon as the 14th of September this month, 2024. Like, yeah, I told you this stuff was new, bro. But yeah, it's just seeming like prehistoric creatures in general are just kind of reappearing. They're not specifically all malicious or dangerous or anything like that, but they are definitely appearing. Something interesting to add to the ocean bit. This massive whale called the Leviathan? Yeah, it's a whale about the same size as the Megalodon, except it has more mass, meaning there's a bit more impact behind its attacks, so potentially it could still be more dangerous than the Megalodon. But the interesting twist to them being here is that they've been combating the Megalodons. In fact, they have a higher chance of beating them the vast majority of the time, just due to the fact that they're better built for taking large chunks out of animals and then being able to finish them off than sharks would be.
The Leviathan's teeth are a foot long and angled forward, making it tremendously difficult for its prey to escape once bitten.
The Megalodons really only are able to beat them if they catch them by surprise. Most of the time they lose to these whales, so you would think that's a good thing. But the problem is they still have a massive quota of food to eat too, so they're also not exactly helping the ecosystem. The government is kind of hoping that they stay at a stalemate and cancel each other out though, so they don't have to deal with taking care of them, because they don't really have much that they can do with behemoths that size. Now back to land, there's also massive snakes returning. Yeah, you remember the ones that went extinct? Well, those are back. You know, the ones like the Titanoboa. Yeah, this snake is literally gargantuan, and it literally feasts on things like large fish and crocodiles. What? Be honest, bro. Anything feasting on a crocodile in the first place is a spectacle to behold and something to be feared. I don't really need to explain much more about the dangers of it if it's eating crocodiles. There's another snake here too. It's called the Basuki indica snake. Yeah, it says they actually don't have that much information on it as of right now. They're still kind of discovering that, and I guess they didn't have a lot of information about it we just didn't have that much information on it in general. But yeah, it's probably just as equally dangerous as the Titanoboa, except for this one. This one's more of a land snake. The Titanoboa is more of a water snake. Either way, this thing's out here wreaking havoc too, just destroying everything and eating anyone in his way. It's also a threat. Yeah, this world is kind of doomed, and it's weird to think about that these creatures used to exist on our world, because if they were to intertwine like they're happening here, things would not end well for us. Everything here is just so much bigger. so much more carnivorous. It's just more dangerous in general. We have modern tools and stuff like that, but when you're up against things that massive and things that have adapted to that kind of stuff, there's not much you can do about it. I mean, what's next? We're gonna get birds coming and scooping people up off the ground? They definitely did have pterodactyls back then. What about giant toads snatching people up with their tongue like they do some flies? Okay, maybe that's a stretch, but hey, you never know. You weren't alive back then. How you gonna tell me they didn't exist? We got frogs, don't we? I'm convinced these aren't the only creatures emerging too, just the only ones that they've quoted have been cited. I'm assuming the entire prehistoric world is going to be emerging from this hole. And I don't even know how far back it's gonna go. Does this also include things like T-Rexes and stuff like that? Or is that too far back? Or will they start appearing next? On top of that, like apparently the organization in charge of dealing with these prehistoric creatures are just deciding to bomb the holes. I don't think that's the best idea, because all you're doing is pissing off whatever it is down that hole that those creatures were leaving the hole from. There's also this just really terrifying sound that just like you need to hear actually. Now, whatever that sound was, seems to be what's making all these creatures flee. And if y'all are throwing bombs and stuff down there, I think whatever it is down there is probably not going to be very happy about you doing that. That is such a terrifying concept too. The way they laid this out basically is, you know, the deadliest, most terrifying creatures that ever existed on the planet? Yeah, well, they're running from something else that's more deadly, more dangerous, and probably more terrifying than they are. And soon you're gonna go ahead and find out what that is, especially if the people that are dropping bombs on them just keeps pissing them off. And I take it soon we're gonna find out what that is. Is this just, this is not a natural phenomenon. So something or someone is behind this, and this is not worldly whatsoever. Something else is going on, because how are those massive holes even emerging in the first place? And on top of that, how are these creatures that no longer existed even re-emerging in the first place either? Is this some kind of interdimensional thing? Some reality warping time stuff? Like, what is going on? All I know is whatever creature is down there is something that is probably a lot more powerful and scary and terrifying than any of these creatures combined.